It looks like a village where everybody just up and left. And
because that's exactly what happened.
But how could they just leave each other?
Honestly, we didn't. We still have each other. Not in the same sense.
Us. I mean,
no.
We're here. Like
so am I.
Yeah,
we see our friends that used to live here all the time. They don't. There's some of them that are still having a hard time dealing with being indoors because they've been outside for so long.
I've been outside 20 years.
Darling, I'm sorry. Sorry I hurt you. Please come back to me. I know I'll be true.
The other day I parked my car in the street and I noticed that there was some woods nearby, so I just went for a little walk out of curiosity. There was this winding path and a railroad, and I had never seen it before. And then I noticed these tents, and then I heard music, then there was people, there was a whole community of people living in the forest right next to this street. And I met some of them. I met this guy named Clyde, so I'm gonna go back into the forest to see if I can find Clyde and show you guys this. I mean, it's like another world in there. It's wild. All right, we've reached, oh hey.
Holy high. Holy.
Base over there?
Yeah. I'm always playing something. That has been the coolest thing about moving to Austin. This community right here has been here for about 6 weeks now. And we kind of worked out a deal with the park rangers and the neighborhood committee over here to haul our trash out where they do the trash pickup. That's the hardest thing, you know, about being out here is you don't have the services that you do when you have a house. You know, no trash. If you don't pay a sewer bill, you know, for sewage, you don't get trash pickup. You don't have an address, you don't get anything really. You know, you're just kind of in limbo. So once you get out here, it's hard to get back out.
Homelessness is something I've covered a lot on this channel, mostly focused on the situation in Los Angeles. And while Austin is a much smaller city with fewer homeless people, parts of it are starting to look a lot like LA. In the last 20 years, Austin has quadrupled in size, going from 600,000 to 2.5 million people with no signs of slowing down. The latest wave of transplants comes from the tech industry, who are leaving their mark in the form of Whole Foods, Starbucks, apartments, and amenities made for remote workers with disposable income. And this isn't exclusive to Austin either. Vegas, the city I grew up in, has roughly the same rate of growth as Austin, with just as many blocky apartment buildings terraforming the landscape. While the tech takeover spreads across the country and around the world, it's reforming cities into Silicon Valley colonies, forcing many longtime locals that can't afford to keep up out of the city. And Bruce is one of them.
I moved here living somewhere else and working here, and I was bouncing back and forth between the two places, and then COVID hit. That kind of threw a monkey wrench into a whole bunch of stuff for me, and it kind of downward spiraled from there to the point where I ended up out here. And around here, we're kind of like, we all banded together. You know, we're a bunch of good people that just had bad times. So, like I said, we all have jobs to make our money and stuff, you know, but there's a lot of people out there that all they do is fly a sign. You know, I mean, it's all they know to do.
Later on, I met Bruce's wife, Brandy, their friend Carrie, and the newest member of the camp, a man named Eric. After sitting in the camp and talking with Bruce, it became apparent that these were unlike most homeless people I've met before. They weren't crackheads, they weren't beggars, they weren't aggressive or violent, they were friendly. Most of them worked day jobs, but they returned to their camp in the woods, preferring it over government programs like hotels and tiny homes that many homeless people are pressured into living in.
Some of us are old, you know, I'm 52 years old, and the curfew would really rankle me. I mean, yeah, I could be in a little house and stuff, but I'm shielded from the weather. You know, I got electronic equipment back here that I got to keep dry, so I make sure everything stays dry. You know, and I have to have an area to sit to be comfortable. And just because I'm residentially challenged doesn't mean I can't have some of the things that make life nice, you know, like electricity.
Since he was a kid, Bruce played guitar and jammed with friends at every opportunity he could. And now that he's been living in the woods for the last 2 years, this is how he stays sane. But make no mistake, Bruce and his hobo band are addicts, and their drug of choice is music.
With the right perspective, it can be a semi-vacation type deal, but you're constantly working. And that's the only thing, the train.
The train?
Yeah.
The railroad separates the wilderness from the city, and each day the train horn screams out across the hills, getting louder as it passes through. Austin is a town that was turned into a city overnight. It's now a mecca for the tech industry, siphoning in thousands of transplants to a cold landscape of apartment blocks and copy-pasted buildings. And still, the train horn hums through the hills, warning everyone that industry is moving closer and closer. And for many people, time is running out.
That's why Ground Zero got shut down, because they had a habit of setting people's tents on fire and burning stuff up. And well, when the fire department has to get that close to the tracks, they got to call and say, "Hey, stop the train."
What is Ground Zero? Where's that?
It was okay.
Bruce told me about a place called Ground Zero, and everyone else at the camp seemed to have something to say about it.
Where y'all going?
Ground Zero.
Okay.
Come on, Zilla, let's go. Come on, let's go.
I've only been there once before.
So when the opportunity arose to check it out with the crew, I wasted no time in joining them on the trek to Ground Zero.
There's a certain decorum that's always been around amongst the homeless community, where everybody looks out for each other. It's a gifting community. People take care of one another, look out for each other. Then you have some bad actors that move into the arena and start kind of messing the game up for everybody. And those who help one another, they'll just relocate and get away from the bad actors and allow them to have their space, because you can't stop and control that. But unfortunately, where we're going now was formerly the place where everybody was collected. And
Hold on, time out.
Go ahead.
They called it Ground Zero because originally that's where the hobos would hop off the trains just before downtown. They loved it because it looked like this. Beautiful. It really did. Beautiful. And then there were the people that came in that started, cutting down the trees and burning, and the drug addicts, the criminal aspect of the homeless world, basically. No, we're not all saints. Yes, there's a lot of us that do steal, but most of us that steal, we're not stealing because we have to or because we want to. We're stealing because we have to
survive, right?
Just to be able to live.
And we're not taking from people personally.
We're taking from the stores.
Corporations.
Yeah.
Who are insured very well.
We steal food to be able to eat.
Listening to this ragtag band of people in the forest showed me how many layers there are to the issue of homelessness. And while it's much easier to lump all homeless people in as mentally ill drug addicts who might possibly steal your stuff or hurt you, many of them are genuine, caring, good people. The difficulty comes in knowing the difference. And if you're looking to cooperate rather than compete with everyone else, the most valuable resource is trust.
Huge game.
So trust is the most important thing.
Yes. Right. Trust is a very big issue. If we can't trust a person, they're not coming into our camp.
Okay, this is an old camp spot right here.
Along the way, we stopped by a site where a couple was recently staying. They had abandoned the camp, leaving behind their belongings as trash for others to collect or dispose of. Some of it was salvageable.
A few little knick-knack things that I saw. There was a table, a jacket.
Some of it was dangerous, and some of it was eerily familiar.
Pokemon cards. C-Dot. There's more Pokemon cards.
Yeah,
There's like a big old stack of Pokemon in a baggie somewhere around here, or there was. I don't know if there's.
I find those all over the forest. Pokemon cards.
Yeah, that's a dirty needle, and that's why
Those
we
are the
tried
things
it.
The
Those
Parks
are the
and
things.
Recreation will cause trouble.
Yeah, those are the things we try to keep picked up and cleaned up because that's just not cool, man.
Yeah.
This is what you can do. Take it, put it in this can,
This turned
up there,
21, and
crush
he was
it,
in the fifth
and now
grade.
it's safe.
Found-
That's when I realized to these people, the forest isn't just a wasteland or some pretty trees, it's their home.
I look high, I look low, looking everywhere I go, looking for a home in the heart of the country. Gonna move, gonna go, gonna tell everyone I know, looking for a home in the heart of the country. Heart of the country where the home.
I wasn't sure what to expect of Ground Zero, but as we approached the street, I immediately recognized where we were. Barton Springs Road, where the train passes by over the bridge. I had been there at least 100 times before. I pass by it almost every day, but I never ventured past the sidewalk until now.
I personally think when you first walk into Ground Zero, that's
But
beautiful.
This is Ground Zero. My husband here working, he was staying here because he had had a falling out with the people that he had been living with, so he came to Ground Zero. He told me that when he first came here, it wasn't at all what he expected. What he expected was everybody with their hands out, you know, wanting, needing something, asking for something. Instead, it was the opposite way around. It was everybody was asking him, do you need anything? Are you hungry? Do you want a cigarette? Anything. They were trying to give him stuff. That was the community that he came into.
How many people would you say was here at the highest focus?
I don't know.
The first time I visited Austin, there was a large tent community within downtown located on 3rd Street. Not long after, a new city ordinance made it illegal to camp on the sidewalk, leaving the homeless community in the city with 3 options: accept government assistance in the form of tiny homes or hotels, move somewhere else, like under a freeway bridge, or escape into the forest. Many of them chose Ground Zero, the first stop along the tracks, in a wooded area that sits on the banks of the Colorado River, close to the heart of the city while being unseen and unknown to most people, which makes it an ideal location.
That's why I guess the feds came in at that point and disbanded the whole area because of some fires. That
We knew the girl.
At its peak, Ground Zero was home to around 50 people, and perhaps because of that, things quickly got out of hand. Fires are essential to survival out in the woods, and with such a mixed bag of people camped out in one small ravine, it tends to draw the attention of passerbys and law enforcement. The smell of burning trash, tents catching on fire, trees lighting up. After enough of these incidents, the inhabitants of Ground Zero were again forced to move, either back on the street, into tiny homes, or further out into the wilderness, like the band of people I was traveling with.
But I guess the problem was that it's so close to all these people around here, all the cars and the people walking by.
Yes.
That's why the
If it
feds
would have
came.
been low key, it would have been okay. But you know, you get a large group of people.
Camp right on the other side of all this.
8 months
Journalist.
ago, 6, 7, 8 months
Say
ago.
hi.
They all
Sleep.
were offered hotels and housing so that they could close down
Ground
this one
Zero.
big camp.
How many of the people took the housing?
Most of them.
Most of them, yeah. Why did you not
But-
take housing?
I had a roommate, they left out on me, and they kicked me out because I wasn't there. I was helping people get out of here.
There you go.
Yeah. See, that's
So
he was one of the
he's
ones that
doing a-
didn't get the housing
a
because he
documentary
was kicked out of the hotel where there's going to be no drugs, no smoking, no drinking. And that's something that really is going to make it hard for any of the homeless to want to go to the hotels because you have alcoholics. If they don't drink, they have seizures. I have 2 of them that live in my camp now. If they don't drink, they will have a seizure and they end up hospitalized. She's right here.
Oh.
Don't make
Feel this.
don't take this wrong. This was probably not done by somebody in Ground Zero. It was probably found in a dumpster and brought back to Ground
Feel
Zero.
it, Brandy. It's like
Yeah, that's not even painted. I don't know what that is.
never hang it like that. You're letting your luck run out.
Yep.
Flip it over.
Yeah, it goes like this over the doorway.
Yes.
Yeah, but here's the kicker on that one. Nobody has a doorway out here.
Oh, here, look.
if you get caught living in somewhere that there's no camping or
You get a
whatever,
fine.
they fine you. If you can't pay the fine, what happens? You go to jail. You know, and if you're not, for some of us, if they're not on the street, they're not making money.
Ground Zero served as a microcosm of self-governed society. It proved that people with nothing could learn to live together and share the land. But it also showed that with more people comes more chaos. And with enough chaos, things can quickly spiral out of control.
That's a rat hole.
Oh yeah, Ground Zero at night, you can hear them. Right over here, and there was a big, huge black snake that was,
Yeah, that's cool. Is that a Bible? That's neat, right?
Yeah.
But the first time I ever came to Ground Zero, my words, when they said, "How did you like it?" My words were, "It's beautiful."
and then it was sad.
And it was sad. And I said, walking through here, it looked like a little hobbit house, a little hobbit town without the hobbits. You know what I mean? Or the little hobbit houses. That's what it reminded me of. was a
But
little
this
hobbit
used to
village.
look.
In Tolkien lore, hobbits live in the rolling green pastures of the Shire, where for a time there was peace. But the hobbits could not stay in the Shire forever, for if they did, the land would be pillaged and burned by Sauron's encroaching evil. I think I've met the hobbits of Texas, and the forest is their Shire.
Yeah. Mousy, mousy? Where's the mousy, mousy? Get that mousy, mousy.
And from my journeys with the hobbits of Texas, I've learned that the people we call homeless live in a parallel reality where society has broken down and individuals must band together to survive. A reality where nature is the only thing standing between man and the encroaching machine. This is a reality that we all share, and the homeless are the first to be swallowed by it.
And that's something else. Out here, there's one thing you will not find, is a weak woman. If a woman cannot get up and do something for herself, go get water, go get building supplies, she won't survive out here. Alright, we's back.
Is there anything that keeps you here in Austin, in this community? Have you thought about?
The music. I'll be honest, I get to pick with a lot of really good players here. I mean, there's a lot of good players in Austin. And most of them are all just guys that just want to jam. You know, they just want to play music. And they don't care if you're homeless or if you have a house, if you got a mansion up on the hill, you know. You all pick up your guitars the same way and you just sit and play. You know, so the freedom of the music in Austin is what really keeps me here. It's a nice place to be. It's the nicest place I've ever lived. You know, I've had some nice houses over the years, but living as far as in the city, I love Austin. I should have got here a lot sooner.
Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "Those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music." Sometimes I think of this quote when I see someone dancing alone in public or rambling to themselves on the street. Maybe they're dangerous, maybe they're afraid, maybe they're insane. But if you take anyone outside of society, depriving them of the comforts, conveniences, food, shelter, and survival that we all take for granted, they will have nothing left to lose and nothing to hide. And from their perspective on the outside, they can see the world for what it really is. So the next time you're in a coffee shop, wondering what lies on the other side of the train tracks, take a stroll through the woods and listen closely. You might just hear the music too. forgot about Clyde.
My name's Clyde Cates. I'm with the Young Ones Foundation. I'm here today to clean up homeless camps.
I've met some good people out here.
Hey, we got to talk about the trash.
Winter is coming and we must prepare.
What are you doing?
I'm filming.
Huh?
That's what I found today. We got construction that was here last time. What are these construction people doing?
I'm recruiting some friends to join me. The seasons have changed, and so is the situation at camp. Some members have left, some have remained, many have yet to be named, raising questions about trust and safety.
Please don't record me.
One thing is for sure. Winter is coming, and with it, fire. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story so far. As you can tell, I'm going to be continuing it as a series, and if you enjoyed this and you got something out of it, you want to see more of it, you can support me on Patreon, you can spread this around, and just interact with the video. So, appreciate you guys watching. See you next time.